So it's winter, as you can probably see behind me, and it's a good time to check on the dahlias that I put into storage in the fall. Today, I want to show you how my dahlias are doing, and I'm also going to talk about what you can look for to make sure that your dahlias are healthy and happy and will be all ready to plant out in the spring. I live in New England, and since dahlias are not hardy, every fall I dig them all up and put them in storage for the winter. I've done a few videos outlining how I do all of that, so I'll drop a link in the description so you can check those out as well. And if you want to know more about all things dahlias, make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. Dahlia tubers are pretty robust, but they don't like being either too wet or too dry. If the tubers, when you put them into storage, if they get too wet, the tubers can rot, and that rot can spread from one tuber to other tubers. Those dahlias won't be good anymore. And if the dahlias get dried out and they shrivel up, again, those are also not going to be viable when it comes to spring planting. So it's all about finding that balance. And I've talked about what to use to store them in some of my previous videos, but essentially you want to use something that is not going to trap too much moisture, but is also going to surround the dahlias and make sure that there's not too much air exposure so that they dry out. I like to use sand as well as vermiculite. I think both of them work really well. And so when I'm checking on the dahlias, I'm looking for a few things. First, I want to check and make sure that the dahlia tubers themselves are plump but firm. If I see any of the tubers, when I press on them, if they're really soft and squishy and damp, I want to remove those right away and just discard them, so that way any of the rot that's there doesn't spread to the rest of the clump. Also, if it is too damp, I want to look around and see if there are other dahlia tubers that are affected by that, because that may tell me that there's too much moisture in the sand or vermiculite, the material that I'm using, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of adjust that. If you're finding there's a little bit too much moisture, maybe it's not widespread, but if you're finding that the material seems a little bit damp, also consider the container itself. As you can see, I have drilled holes in the lid of my storage containers because I do want a little bit of air circulation, so that way I'm not creating a closed system. If it was completely closed off and there was no air exchange, then any moisture that's in the container when I put them to storage is gonna stay there all through the winter. And that could become problematic, again, if there's too much moisture. If you're running into problems with tubers that look like they're rotted, there's definitely some things that you can look at to kind of correct that. Maybe you have to take them out of the storage container and repack them. The other thing I'm going to look for is on the other end of the spectrum, in that the dahlia tubers look wrinkled and shriveled. It's okay if they get a little bit wrinkled. They're going to dry out a little bit during the storage, and generally that's okay. If I do start to see that some of them are maybe looking a little dry, I'll take a spray bottle and I'll lightly mist the dahlias just to add a bit more moisture into the container. So check once a month or so during the winter. I just pop the lid open on the container and I try to look around a little bit. Now I've got a lot of dahlias packed in here. I also, as you can see, I've got a number of cannas as well and other tropicals. I think I've got an elephant ear in here too somewhere. And so everything's kind of packed in here, but I do try to like rummage around as best I can to kind of get a sense of how the tubers are looking. If I need to, I'll add some more material. In fact, in a couple of my containers here, these are the ones that I have packed with sand. It looks like the sand has really settled out since I first put them into storage. I'm going to top them off with some vermiculite, which is another really good storage material option. My third container here that I have is entirely filled with vermiculite. I'm going to take a look at that one as well, and if I need to, I will top that up. I like to check on my dahlias once a month during the winter. That's usually enough just to get an idea of how things are going and gives me a chance to make any corrections. So if you check on your dahlias once a month and keep an eye out for anything that looks off, your dahlias will be ready and waiting for planting in the spring. If you want more info about caring for dahlias all year round, make sure you subscribe to the channel, sign up to our email newsletter, and I will see you in the next one.